Okay. So I'm recording back to back now. Hey?
Kind of close up.
Oh, sure. Okay. Now, Social Security. We talked about this in history class. So those of you that had history should know a lot about Social Security. Okay. That there's three parts of Social Security. There's the retirement part. There's the unemployment insurance. And then there's the public assistance for those that are disabled, maybe blind, and dependent children. So if you lose a parent before the age of 18, the surviving parent and the children are qualified for Social Security so that you can help raise the child, missing the other income from the other parent. Yes? Okay. Now, the way this works, guys, is when you work and I work, we all pay into Social Security. We pay in 6.2% of what we earn in Social Security. Okay? Now, you guys are young and poor. So you get most of what you make back in a refund. What you don't get back is Social Security, because that is going for your retirement. Okay? Same thing with Medicare. You don't get that back either. Now, but your federal and state income, you get a lot of that back because you're poor. Okay? Now, that's what we do for our children. All right? Now, it takes about 5. Now, guys, I make what is about average of the average American income. That's what I make, close to that. Okay? I might be 1,000 or 2 higher than average. Okay? But I pay in about $284 a month into Social Security, and I'm average. Okay? Now, when you pay this in, the max that you can pay into is up to $143,000. Okay, so my wife, let's just say she makes $150,000 a year. Okay, she pays 6.2% on the first $143,000. Nothing after that. If you make $1 million, you pay 6.2% on the first $143,000. This is called means testing. Okay, because if you put in more than that, you're never going to get it out. You understand? That's not fair. That's not the way this was designed. This was designed that people would put in some of their tax dollars, and when they retired, the government would hold on to it for you and give it back to you in installments so you wouldn't starve to death when you could no longer work. Yes? That's the way this was designed. This wasn't to punish the rich like the other taxes. Okay? You know what I mean? That's not what this was designed. Now, this used to be $99,000. So they've raised this. The age of retirement used to be 65, and they raised that, right, to 67. So it's 67 for you and I, all right? For those that are already on it, it could have been 65, okay? They changed it a few years back and phased it in over a few years, okay? Now, yesterday I put up the graph of the baby boom, okay, and the fact that we have a large number of people retiring from that generation that were born between 1946 and 1965, right? So this is really putting a strain on Social Security, so much so that by 2037, they're saying there will not be enough money to fund people's Social Security check. The average payout today, and I looked this up this morning, I've been using $1,300, but in Kansas, it's $1,500, or roughly $18,000 a year. Okay, $1,500 a month. That's the average. Now, my wife is going to get a bigger Social Security check than I am, because she's paid in longer, because she's older than I am and worked more years than I have, and she's made more money than I am. So I'm kind of the average Joe, and this is the average Joe. So let's talk about the average Joe. All right. Now, what you're going to have to do, because there's not going to be enough money, you got 3 options. One, you could cut the benefit, which isn't going to happen. Old people vote. And if you run for office saying, you know, we need to fix Social Security, we're going to have to cut the benefit a little bit, you're not going to get elected, because the other party is going to scare all the old people saying they're trying to take away your Social Security. When George W. Bush in 2000 wanted to privatize Social Security, guys, The Democratic Party ran ads of George W. Bush cartoon ad of him pushing an old lady in a wheelchair off a cliff. He still got elected. And then when he was elected, the Republicans, his party, had control of both houses of Congress. And Bush said, okay, let's fix Social Security. They're like, the members, Republicans in Congress are like, sorry, buddy, we're not going there. So they never really fixed it. And they haven't been fixing it. We've got 16 years, people. The other option they could do is raise taxes. Right? Raise taxes or cut benefits or increase the retirement age some more. Now, who wants to work till they're 70? Now, guys, understand this. You can start taking Social Security and be working. You understand? Like Mr. Kennedy. I'm sure he's taking his Social Security back. And he's still working. He's not working full time, right? He's just here for a few hours a day. Okay? So you can start taking Social Security at 62. That's what I'm going to do. Because I don't know if it'll be around when I'm 70. I mean, if you wait till you're 70 to take Social Security, you get a bigger check. Take it at 62, you get a smaller check. But man, I've been putting money into that my whole freaking life. I'm like, I'm going to get some of that money back before I die. Because I don't know if I'm going to make it to 70. You know what I mean? I'm getting mine. You better believe it. I told my wife that. Because sometimes it's not smart to take it early. You know what I mean? I don't care. It's a matter of principle, right? So anyhow, those are your options. Or you could maybe fix it. All right? Now, so it takes 5 people, 5.3 people today to pay for one person to retire. 5 average people like me, okay? 5.3 average people like me, okay? Now, as more and more people retire, okay, the burden on the individual becomes higher because this money used to go into the Social Security fund. So 1935, your money would go into a fund. It would have your name on it. And when you retired, they'd take money out of that fund and give it to you. In the 1970s, guys, Congress was hurting for money. And they saw all that money in the Social Security fund. And they said, you know what? We can use the Social Security fund money for other stuff. Like wars and bridges and roads, and welfare and other programs, NASA. And they raided the Social Security fund. It no longer exists, people. This doesn't exist. Okay? So the money that comes out of my check this week goes to the U.S. Treasury, and then they write a check to grandma. It goes from my pocket to grandma's pocket. Okay? Now, I don't mind doing that because grandma put in money too. You know what I mean? That, you know, I owe her that. We owe her that. Okay? In my view, you don't have to believe that. Okay? But anyhow, this is a very popular program. People like it. But they'd also like it to be there when they get to retirement. Okay? So there's an option here. Now, let me throw this at you. This is called privatization. Okay? And if you like it. All right? So here's what we're going to do. Temporarily, guys, we're going to have to raise taxes. Okay? Let me show you. So instead of 6.2%, over here. Okay, we're going to go to 6.5%, okay? And this is really going to raise my Social Security tax to about $300 a month, okay? This way, we don't have to cut grandmas, okay? So what am I going to do with that extra $20, okay? That's going to come to me. Let's not do me. Let's do you. This is you, okay? And you take that extra 20 bucks over here, okay? Times 12, right? 12 months, yes? Times 5. We're going to do this for 5 years. These are going to be 5-year increments, okay? And it's going to take about 35 years to do this. but it's going to work. Okay, watch. All right, so let me get my calculator out. Unless somebody can do that real fast in their head, which would not surprise me. 12, what? 20, hey, what? 20 times 12 times 5, 1,200. Good job. This is called cross-curricular learning, math, and history class. Okay. All right, so you got $1,200. Now, where are we putting this money after 5 years? How many of you guys have savings accounts? Oh, isn't that cute? What kind of interest are you getting on it? Have you ever looked?
$1.
Isn't it?
$1?
Oh, yeah.
You're really making your money work for you guys. That's impressive. Okay, where are we going to put this money? We're going over here, people. Go to the stock market. Okay? This is 1934. This is 2015. Okay? Over the life of the stock market, it has gone up between 6 and 12%. You guys are getting less than 1% in your savings account. Now, I know you need that money later on and maybe need it soon for college or something, so you're not going to want to get tied up in investments and stuff like that. I get that. Okay? You're 17, you're 18. Okay? But soon, ladies and gentlemen, you really need to be thinking about this. Okay? Now, all right. This is government class. Yes. Okay. So I taught you guys about Roth IRAs last semester. Wait, this is government class.
Yes.
When we did the stock market crash, and I taught you guys about investing, where to put your money when you,
Oh,
401ks, Roth IRAs, mutual funds,
yeah,
Edward Jones.
a variety of different.
Yeah. Okay. Now this is going to grow. So you're not just going to have $1,200. Okay. You're going to have $1,300. So at the end of 5 years, you got $1,300. Now, if you were 60, or excuse me, if you were 57 to 62, okay, when you started this, we started this, okay, you're going to have $1,300 in your little kitty, okay? Now, you can't retire on that. And that's basically going to cover about 1 month of Social Security benefits over 5 years, okay? Now, we could do bigger. I mean, like, we could jump this up to, 7% and bring, $40 over, okay? But what we're going to be able to do, because you do have a little nest egg here, we're going to be able to cut this a little bit, okay? So we're going to cut this to $1,400, okay? Now, instead of taking $20 a month, right, you're going to be able to take $35 a month. $35 a month times 12 times 5. $2,100 plus $1,300, right? Which is growing at the same time. So 2113, we're at like $4,000, okay, with interest after 10 years. This is your little retirement account over here. It's little right now, okay? Now, if you were 52, and actually I should have done this, 62 to 67 and 57 to 62. You've been doing this for 10 years over here. You're an older person. You're a younger person, okay? Now, you have $4,000 over here, okay? Everybody with me? All right, now we're going to cut this again, okay? We're going to cut this to $1,200 a month, okay? Because you have some savings over here. Now, instead of doing 35, we're going to do $55 a month, okay? The rest will go over here, times 12, times 5. $3,300 plus $4,000 plus interest. Okay. Now we're at $8,000. Because the more money you have, the more interest you get. You understand that, right? So if you invest $100 and you get 10% return, and I invest $10,000 and get 10% return, I made a lot more money than you did. Yes? Okay, so now we're up to $8,000, and you were 52 when this started, right? To 57, okay? And you have $8,000. Okay, so the trend continues. We're going to cut this to 1,000, okay? We're going to raise this to 75. 75 times 12 times 5, 4,500 plus 12 plus 8, that's 12,500 plus interest. We're going to say we're at $14,000. And this is 15 years, this is 20 years, okay? And if you were 47 to 52, you now have a nest egg of $14,000. Okay? And we're going to do that again and do that again until we transfer all $300 over into your own private savings account. You can't spend this money. You can't touch this money until you're 62 years old. You can put it in your savings account. You're not going to get the growth. When you're a young person, you can take risk because you have more time to recover from that risk. When you're 60 years old, you start to move stuff out of the stocks, which are more volatile, and you start putting them into bonds and money markets and the CDs, safer investments where you can still get some return on your money. Okay? My wife and I just went and saw our financial advisor last week, Edward Jones. 2019, we got a 21% return on our investments. 21%. There were days where I made more money in the stock market than I made coming to work. You understand? I didn't have to get out of bed. I did, but you know what I mean? All right, so what's the risk here in doing this? The stock market. Okay? Now, we can't cut Granny's stuff. You know what I mean? We've got to take care of Granny. But guys, if you did this, if we started this with your generation, by the time you guys hit 62, you would be millionaires. You would have all the money you needed and more to retire. But if the stock market crashes, well, we all go to hell in a handbasket together. There's the risk. Because most people are going to put their money in the market. It's going to create jobs because you're going to have financial advisors that are going to need to be able to help people manage their money on this. Okay? I don't know. Now, the one place on the planet they've done this is the nation of Chile, you know, in South America. And it was implemented by a dictator named Pinochet. Okay? And it worked. But they call this the third rail of politics. Did I talk about this in a lecture yesterday? Yeah, nobody's willing to touch this with a 10-foot pole. They don't have the guts. Okay? I like it. I mean, it's freedom, man. It's just basically government-mandated savings. That's what it comes down to. And that's what it originally started as. But it had turned into something else that's going to go bankrupt, that people paid so much money into over their lifetimes that are going to get screwed. Unless we fix it. You know how they're going to fix it. They're going to raise this $143,000 and tax the rich more, and they're going to raise that 6.2%, which is going to make it harder on businesses, because remember, employers have to match that. It's going to make it harder on employers, it's going to make it harder on employees to pay that more in taxes, okay, to cover the screw up of Congress. When Al Gore ran for president in 2000 against Bush, he called for a lockbox. And he said it like this: we need a lockbox. for Social Security that nobody can get into. And he kept repeating that lockbox. Saturday Night Live had a lot of fun with that. The lockbox. You can go back. Just YouTube lockbox Gore 2000. Saturday Night Live. Okay. It's pretty funny. Okay. But he's right. You know, we shouldn't be using this money for anything but Social Security. But now it's too late. Politicians, looking out for today, not for tomorrow. What's the number one goal of a politician? Get reelected. Okay. Term limits. I don't have that on there because I know you know the right answer. This is government, right? Okay, you decide. Now, I wasn't fair on that. There is the fear that the stock market could crash and this could get bad for a lot of people. That's there, okay? But it's like that anyways, okay? Because most of us are invested in pensions. Like if you work for the government, you have pensions. Those pensions are in the stock market. Your 401ks are in the stock market. Your Roth IRAs are in the stock market. So if the stock market crashes, everybody's screwed, whether we do this or not. Unless you keep your money on your mattress or in a savings account. Yes. Bye-bye. Yeah, they keep it. Well, they don't really get to keep anything. It's money that's coming in from taxpayers right now. You know what I mean? It makes Social Security sustain itself longer. Now, here's the thing. If you are married, okay, say you get married and you have a litter of children. You have like 6, okay? And you stayed home for like your highest earning years, through your 20s and 30s, and 40s. You stayed home and you only worked about 10 years in your life. Your Social Security check's going to be small. If your husband worked all that time and put into it, if he were to pass before you, you could take his instead of yours. So you can choose to hire. So if my wife passes before I do, I'll take her Social Security instead of mine. Does that make sense? But you can't pass it on to your kids. Okay. This, I think you would probably be able to. I don't know. You don't want to leave your kids too much money. It screws them up. Trust fund babies doesn't turn out too well. It's like, what's his name? William Buffett is one of the richest men in the world. He's like, he's not leaving his kids much. Okay. I'll be pissed. What's next? School vouchers? Okay. All right. Does anybody in here know? And if Abney was here, she's in this class? She's in this class? Minju Shin? Abney Shin? Okay. She's from South Korea. Okay. Are you a foreign exchange student? Okay, so you pay full tuition. Yeah. Tish loves you. Give me some more foreign exchange students. Okay. All right, now, do you know how much that is? The full tuition? About 10 grand? Okay. It was 9,600. It probably went up. Okay. $10,000. Okay. That's for Bishop Carey. Now, I don't pay that. Okay, because I'm not a member of a parish, but I'm a full-time employee, so I pay what the parishes pay. You guys know what the parishes pay? About 4,000. 37, it may have gone up a little bit. Okay, 3,700. Okay, so that's what I pay for my kids to go. Okay. So, does anybody have any idea how much it costs to educate one student at Northwest High School for 1 year? In Kansas, that number is about $13,000. Okay, this pays the teachers, keeps the lights on, the water running, the staff, the grounds, to mow the grounds, all that stuff. You know what I mean? To operate school, buy the books, the desks, the technology, everything. $13,000 in Kansas on average. Okay. Some communities it's higher than that. Some communities it's lower than that. Across the country. Now, where do we get the money for this 13,000? We get it from taxes, obviously, mostly property taxes, but we also get state funding and a little bit of national funding and a bunch of paperwork from them. Okay. They give us like 10% of the money and 80% of the paperwork. That's the federal government for you. Okay. Now, so would you say maybe we do a better job with less than some public schools? Yes. Okay. That's not being conceited. Just being truthful. Now, are there some really good public schools in this country? Absolutely. Andover's a good public school, right? Andover Central, those are good public schools. Goddard, Mays, those are good school districts. When you're a real estate agent, you know what I mean? You're selling houses to people. You're like, well, this house is in this school district and it's really good. How do they say it's really good? What do they look at to say this is a really good school district? What do they look at? Test scores. Okay? So like the ACT average out in Andover is higher than the ACT average in 259. Yes? So that's a selling point for a home, for a realtor. You got kids, these are great schools here. With me? Okay? Now, because they're in the suburbs out there, they can charge more property taxes, which means they have more money to do more things with. Better facilities. Okay? I mean, there's some stuff here that I really wish we had for our students, like AutoCAD. You know, so that you guys could learn how, you guys know what AutoCAD is? It's like a drawing, drafting system that you use on a computer that engineers use. So you don't even know what it is. And they have it in other high schools. You know what I mean? It's expensive. We don't have the money for that. Okay? But what you get out of this place is a lot. Okay? Discipline. Yes? Employers in this community like to hire Bishop Carroll students because they know how to show up on time. They know how to wear a uniform. They know how to take directions. And they work hard. They make great employees. Yes? Now, if you can do those four things, man, you're going somewhere in life. Okay? Plus, you're proficient. Okay? You're respectful. Generally. Okay? What do we do different than the public schools? What do we do right? I've been teaching here for this is my 23rd year. 2 times in 23 years, I had to get the principal involved in something that happened in my classroom. Discipline one. 2 times. Okay? Very rarely have I had a student be disrespectful. My job is easy, except for the grading. Okay? It's easy. Okay? I have students, I have parents that will back up the teacher, not the student. Right? Not just assume that it's the teacher's fault. You know what I mean? They trust me. I have academic freedom here, which I love. And guys, most of all, we have Jesus. Right? We have the truth. We can teach you the good versus evil, right versus wrong. Okay? Because if you're not getting that at home, you're going to get it here. Okay? Just ask, right? Sisters, right? They'll tell you. Right? What you're doing wrong, what you're doing right. Yeah. I'll tell you too. But discipline, high expectations, right? It's harder to get an A here. Because I went to public schools. Now, the public school I went to in Indiana, in a rich suburb of Indianapolis, Carmel, Indiana, it's 93 to get an A, which is what it used to be here. 69 was an F. And I made a lot of them. I moved to Florida. My last year and a half, my GPA up went 2 points, which means it was already low, right? I got all A's and B's, except in that geometry class. Okay? But over there in Indiana, the high expectations. Okay? Obviously, guys, socioeconomic status is the largest indicator about how well you will do in school. Okay? So we have a lot of poor people in our country, in our urban areas, and this is where our schools tend to struggle the most. Okay, because the environment outside the school, which can have a lot of crime, drug abuse, gangs, that stuff doesn't stop at the school door. That stuff comes into the school. And it makes it hard for kids to learn. So one option we have is to provide a different option for inner city kids that are in failing schools, where there is no discipline. There are not high expectations. There is no Jesus. So this is called school choice or school vouchers. So if you had to pick one of the high schools in Wichita, so this is the worst public high school in Wichita. Would you say south, southeast, west? What would you say? I don't want to say the worst. Let's just say like the one that struggles the most. South? Probably south. Okay, just from what I hear. Okay, and I have friends that teach in the public school. Okay. So let's say you're at South High. This is what they do in Florida. If a school, they do the testing, and the school is not, the kids are not proficient. They're not reading at or near grade level or doing math near or at grade level. They will put that school on probation. They have 2 years to improve. If they do not adequately improve their school, they will shut that school down and give every child in that school a voucher, or every family a voucher worth $13,000, where they can take it to a different school of their choice. School choice. They could take that to another public school. So if you were at South High and this happened, you could go to Northwest, you could go to Andover, you could go to Goddard, and you take that $13,000 voucher with you. You could go to Bishop Carroll and get some Jesus. Now, wait a second. Does this violate the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment, which says Congress shall not establish a religion? Is this the government giving money to a religious institution like Bishop Carroll? Well, let's find out, because it went to the Supreme Court. Because in Cleveland, Ohio, they were doing this in the inner cities, trying to get these young inner city kids into Catholic schools and other Christian schools. And they were using voucher money, government money. Here, where does the money originate? With the taxpayer. 2, the voucher is giving to the family. The family is giving the money to the church. This does not violate the First Amendment Establishment Clause. So we cleared that hurdle. Okay? Now, would you take 100 kids in from South High to Bishop Carroll? Would that change the culture here? Or would it be up to us to change them? What does Jesus teach us? What does God tell us? To spread the gospel, yes? What better way than to bring in 100 heathens in here and change their life? Now, I say that kindly because I'm a heathen too, if you're watching this on YouTube, okay? All right? No, seriously, you could change lives, okay? They have to go to Mass, got to take 4 years of religion classes, do all the things that you guys do. Now, what's 100 times 13,000? That's easy. $1.3 million. See those classrooms that have been sitting empty for years over here? We could finish those. Okay. Now, if we went universal vouchers in the state of Kansas, like everybody got a voucher for $13,000, the state would go bankrupt. Guys, we in the private schools, whether it be the Catholic schools in the state of Kansas, the Christian schools, the collegians, the independents, these schools saved the state of Kansas $13,000 per child. That's from K through 12. We are talking about $80 million private school families saved the state of Kansas a year. A little bit of gratitude would be nice. Instead of bashing on the private schools, you know what I mean? Now, not everybody bashes on the private schools, but there's a fair share of that. You know what I mean? We saved the taxpayers of this country, of this state, a lot of money. You know, we couldn't go to universal. I mean, we seriously have to raise taxes. But for those inner city schools, the ones that are really struggling, if you're a parent and you're stuck in that school because you live, because of your zip code, your child is stuck in a failing school that does not have a safe, warm, loving learning environment, you're stuck. You ask inner city African American parents about this, if they'd like this for their kids, because whenever there's a charter school or there's a magnet school, there's a waiting list of kids to get in. You understand? Parents want to get their kids into good schools. They want good things for their children. What will bring you out of poverty better than anything is education. Now, you may be an incredible athlete and make it to the NBA or Major League Baseball or the NFL. That's rare. You may be a very talented musician or rapper and get out of that situation, out of poverty that way, but that's rare. You may be a great dancer. You know what I mean? But that's rare. The best way to lift people out of poverty is education. We're doing a disservice to our children in this country if we don't give them the best education we can. This should be the number one priority of the United States of America, besides national security. Sorry, get on my soapbox. Now, my buddy Tom that teaches over at Northwest, I said, Tom, you like vouchers, don't you? He says, no, man. His kids went to St. Francis. He says, I don't want these kids in my kids' classroom. I'm like, Tom, that's cold, man. Some of you guys don't want that. I get that. You know what changed the culture? It doesn't have to be Catholic school. It could just be a better public school. It could be a charter school. Okay? I don't know. Now, what's the downside? Well, if you're a teacher at South High and 100 students leave, or they shut the school down, you're going to need a job, right? Now, if we went universal, you'd get as many teachers as you need based on how many students you have. Okay? But let's say 100 students leave. They're going to have to lay off some teachers, right? So which teachers are you going to lay off? Now, if you're a principal, what you'd love to be able to do is get rid of your worst teachers, right? Because then your school's already improved. You know what I mean? You may be able to attract some of those students back because your school's improved. Because you got rid of some of the riffraff. But you can't do that. Because the unions have it set up, the teachers' unions. Last in, first out. So you get a young 20-something teacher that's full of energy, that has a passion for what they do. They're the ones that are going to get laid off first. Not the person that's been there for 35 years. That just shows in, punches the clock. There's wonderful teachers in the public school system. I know them. Okay? It's not their fault. It's what comes into the classroom. It's the breakdown of the family. Okay, so we're now raising kids in the schools now. We're feeding them breakfast. We're feeding them lunch. We're doing the role of the parents. Should we be able to teach them right and wrong too? Should we be able to teach them truth? Because when they don't learn that, it'll break down the society. I don't know if this is the answer. I don't know if you like this. Teachers' unions hate this. They want the status quo. Okay? I think we owe it to our kids. Now, it doesn't have to, like, again, it doesn't have to be, religious schools, but that should be an option. Catholic schools get it right, man. And you want to start with the little pups. You know what I mean? You want to start when they're little. Get them when they're young. Okay? When your parents all sent you, you had that option. And thank God for the Wichita Diocese, you have that. You know what I mean? This school system is incredible. Yeah, I complain sometimes. I got a freaking sub 7th hour again. I'll see you in science class. All right? But, we're the only one in the country that does this. That does the tithing and all that. I have family in Columbus, Ohio that all sent their kids to Catholic schools. They're Catholic. They pay tuition. Okay? It's like paying for Wichita State full tuition. You know what I mean? It's expensive over there in Ohio, in Louisiana, St. Louis. They do it all over the country. Okay? It's expensive. I don't know. This is expensive. Are we getting a good return on our money? Some cases we are. Okay? Yeah, I'm taking a lot of time on that. Yeah, because I cannot do Medicare for all in 10 minutes. Okay? That takes too long. Okay? Which I'm studying up on for tomorrow. Okay? I'm looking up some statistics and some stuff like that. Look, you got a new president of the United States, correct? Sworn in today at noon. Okay, new vice president. They have a different agenda. Now, Joe Biden does not support Medicare for all. His running mate or vice president, Kamala Harris, does. Okay, so you need to know what it means, what the impact of it will be. Okay, because I got a feeling Uncle Joe ain't going to be around for too long. He's the oldest president we've ever sworn in. Okay, I don't know. I'm sure Vegas is taking bets on it. Okay, I do not dislike Joe Biden at all. I like Joe Biden as a human being. Okay, I like Joe. I've always liked Joe Biden. Okay, because he's the type of guy that will say stuff off the cuff, not all scripted. You know what I mean? And I like people like that to tell you how they feel. Even though when it comes out of your mouth the wrong way sometimes, that makes you human. And I like human. Okay? I don't like stuffy. I don't like everything being orchestrated, word for word, reading off the teleprompter. You know what I mean? And that's something endearing about Trump, too. Even if you don't like what he said some of the times, you're like, this guy's kind of off his rocker here, okay? He's kind of crazy. He's funny. I like this guy. You know what I mean? It's just kind of, and Joe Biden's always been like that, okay? So, all right, so we'll stop there with the school vouchers. How much time do we have? Time? It's time. Okay. All right. There's a lot of information on that. You could read up on it if you want. Okay. I probably wasn't fair on this one. Okay. So, I don't know. It's not like a huge political issue. I mean, it is, but it's about the kids, man. It's about the kids.